Hi everyone, it's I, follower of the way, a bond servant of Christ. May peace and grace be upon you. In our previous video, we spoke about understanding biblical altars. If you haven't watched that, for better understanding, you should pause this video and watch that first, because this episode is a continuation of a biblical series which started with understanding biblical altars. So, let's continue, shall we? In the Bible, there are two types of priesthood. They are the Levitical and the Melchizedek priesthood. In our previous video on altars, I said that every altar needed a priest. In the Old Covenant, God secured the people through Abraham for an example to other nations, and from that people, he chose the tribe of Levi to carry out priestly duties. God, who is all-knowing, saved Moses as a baby, and through his divine will, Moses was trained in the house of the Pharaoh to read and write. After his people were delivered out of captivity, it was time for Moses to put the gifts God had bestowed upon him to use. Moses went up to the mountain to meet with God, and on that mountain, God showed him the heavenly tabernacle and told him to copy out everything he saw and use the same pattern for the earthly tabernacle he was to design. God was showing a symbolic way to approach him through earthly resources available at that time, so that all would recognize the fulfillment of the divine justice in a future time. For reference to all I have said, let us check on Exodus chapter 25, verse 8 to 9. What does it say? And let them make me a sanctuary, so that I may dwell among them. You shall make it according to all that I show you, the pattern of the tabernacle and the pattern of all its articles. The tabernacle was divided into the interior tabernacle, which had 2 rooms, and the outer court. The 2 rooms were called Holy of Holies and the Holy Place. The tabernacle consisted of the covering, the ark, the veils, golden table, bread of the presence, golden lampstand, altar of incense, brazen altar, brazen laver, and another important aspect was the priest's clothing. I will start with the coverings. There were strict instructions and specifications to the making of the coverings. Different materials were used, ranging from curtains of woven linen of blue, purple, and scarlet colors to goat skins, acacia wood, silver sockets, boards, and hooks overlaid with gold. The outside covering was of plain color, so that from outside you can't really know how attractive inside of the tabernacle was. In same way, we can't really know the realities in God until we step in first. Let us continue. Next were the veils, curtains which separated the holy place from the Holy of Holies. It had the colors of blue, purple, scarlet, and white. It was used to demarcate the entries of the holy place. The ark. The ark was designed with acacia wood and overlaid with gold, and it had a pattern like what is shown. The 2 cherubim sat facing each other with the mercy seat in between. It was at the mercy seat the presence of God or the Shekinah appeared. The ark also contained a bowl of manna, which was an unknown food God sent down in the desert when the people complained. There was the budded rod of Aaron, which God made to happen to prove to the people that he had chosen Aaron as his high priest, and also the tablets of covenant. The ark sat in the Holy of Holies, and this part of the tabernacle was only entered once a year by the high priest. Golden lampstand. A lampstand of 6 lamps extending from a middle one, made from pure gold. It provided light for the holy place, since no natural light was allowed to enter. It was to be lit continually. Golden table. It was placed in the holy place, opposite the golden lampstand. As the name implies, it was golden and it had 12 showbreads arranged in a pair of 6 placed on it. The bread was only eaten on Shabbat, and new breads were made weekly. It signified covenant meal. As a point of note, not anyone could make this bread. This duty was only given to a tribe called the Kohathites. I made this point to show that everything in the tabernacle was done in a particular order, and I can't go into an elaborate discussion about it. Altar of incense. This was made from wood and gold. It was placed before the veil that covered the Holy of Holies. It was used for burning fragrant incense mornings and evenings. Let us now step outside. When entering the outer court, the structure you see is the brazen altar. It was the altar used for offerings. It was made from brass. Here, people bring in a sacrifice before they could approach the holy place. It was in this place the animals were slaughtered and burnt, and the blood sprinkled on the altar. Remember, every pattern symbolizes or reflected a heavenly reality. Same way you can't approach God today without a sacrifice. But we do not use animals anymore. If it is the Lord's will, I will talk about it in another video on the other type of priesthood. The brazen laver is the next structure. They were washing basins filled with water. It was used for washing. The word brazen means brass, and it was polished in such a way that the person washing could see himself like a mirror, so that they could see themselves as they washed. In effect, before approaching the holy place, one must first give a sacrifice, then clean themselves up. The clothing of the priests were important too. These were specially made garments for the priests. They were of fine woven linens laced with gold, blue, purple, and scarlet colors. After the ceremonial washing, the first clothing worn was the tunic, followed by the robe. Then the ephod was worn on the robe, and on the shoulders of the ephod were 2 onyx stones, one on each shoulder, each with 6 names of the 12 tribes. It symbolized the priest carrying the names of his people to the presence of God. Next is the sash, a girdle used to tie the robe and the ephod to the waist. The breastplate of judgment had 12 precious stones bearing the names of the tribes worn over his chest. It symbolized bearing his people in his heart as he went into the holy place. Hidden inside the breastplate is the Urim and Thummim. They were special stones used to determine God's will in matters. Golden bells were attached to the helms of the robe to make sounds as the priest walks into the holy place, for the people to know he was still alive. Then, the turban is worn on his head, with a gold plate on his forehead, with the inscription, "Holiness unto the Lord." The holy anointing oil was used to consecrate everything, including the priest. In conclusion, there were 5 important types of offering: burnt offering, grain offering, peace offering, trespass offering. These 4 were done on the brazen altar, with blood sprinkled on the altar when needed. But the last, which was sin offering, was the only one in which the blood was taken into the holy place and sprinkled 7 times before the veil and poured into the incense altar. In the Bible, the number 7 stands for completion. From this symbolic representation, you can see the extent God abhors sin, evident in the practice where the blood of the sin offering had to be carried into the holy place to be sprinkled for forgiveness. The next video on the other type of priesthood will expand on what all this symbolizes in the new covenant. So, until next time, I remain your host, follower of the way. Remain blessed.
Hello, brothers and sisters. I must say that I'm glad to have you here. It will mean a lot to us if you subscribe, like, and share. I pray we all keep bonding in love for humanity and for our loving Father in heaven.